The time is no longer near, it is in fact here. Unless you have a time turner, then it's already passed, or hasn't happened, but yet is happening. I digress. Recorded in a cupboard under the stairs, the host and guests are prepped with codices and remembrals in hand. Get ready to add 10 victory points to Griffin. Excuse me. Lock and load your bolters and look out for Cockney-speaking orcs. Stratagem is about to begin.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew Freeman, your host, and this is yet another episode of Stratagem. We're here today on part 2 of the Astra Militarum as we travel across space and time to talk about the neat little guys that die easy but have big boomsticks. With me today I have Trevor.
Hey.
That was very eloquent of you. And BJ.
Yes, sir.
We're back at it again. First of all, part 1 was amazing. We really dove into the meat and potatoes of the other 2 regiments. I'm excited for Cadia, of course, and Catachan, the jungle dwellers. So let's get into it. Core build. We'll start with Trevor. Cadia, the planet... I don't know what the saying is. The planet died before the Guard did or something like that?
The planet broke before the Guard did.
That was...
and that is still how they are.
I read that Gathering Storm book, and I thought that was amazing, actually.
Yes, it gives you goosebumps reading about the fall Acadia and how all of their guys are scattered across the galaxy still. They're still fighting. They didn't get rid of them. You can't get rid of Cadia.
Creed's a badass in that book, too.
Oh, yes, he is. If he's your warlord, you get 2 extra command points just by having him be your warlord. He's 70 points of just... command points are everything in this edition, and we're going to get into some stratagems that you're going to want those 2 extra guaranteed command points. No rolling 5-ups when you use them to get more.
What's your core build for the Cadia regiment?
Sentry going up!
Every day start off with Creed. I start off battalion Creed, another company commander. Give that other company commander that Kurov's Aquila to give you those extra command points, and as many infantry squads with heavy weapons and special weapons as I can. With the regimental doctrine, where if you take aim and you stood still, you're re-rolling all failed misses. You can put any kind of heavy weapons, hide them into infantry squads, and you're going to just sit there and lay down a devastating amount of firepower.
Awesome. All right, let's get into Catachan, BJ. The jungle dwellers, the army full of Rambos.
Absolutely.
What's your core build? What's the core build for Catachan?
The core build for Catachan, you either go 2 ways. You either go heavy infantry, and you really capitalize on that idea that you don't necessarily suck quite as bad at melee as most Guard, or you double down on the extra rolling D6s or re-rolling D6s for the Lemon Rust battle tanks. They just make, with grinding advance, you're shooting incredibly effectively with the Lemon Rust. But, you can actually make some things that, you can make a melee Guard squads that can be really impressive. Throw in a priest and whatnot, and you can get a lot of extra attacks, especially on the command squads or the veteran squads, and double down on that burn them all order, and get that really extra burn damage.
Are they actually useful in the melee, though? What is their weapon skill?
Well, one of the things, their weapon skill is still 3, so that does hurt. But one of the things I've usually done prior to this is use Bulgarins and Rough Riders as kind of a means to deal with when I get stuck in melee. Now, you take Strachan, he gets an extra, everybody that's with him gets an extra attack. You throw a Psyker in there, because why wouldn't you use a Primary Psyker in this edition now, especially with the bonus to armor saves? You give a command squad with all chainswords and a medic, and you just go charging in. I liked throwing the idea of an Ogren bodyguard with plate, slap shield, and a maul for good measure, and then I tend to give him the death mask of Olanius. So it's at 251 points, which is about 20 to 30 points less than 6 Bulgrins and a priest. But I'm getting 11 strength 7 attacks, because Strachan is strength 7, or strength 6, but then gets the Catachan plus 1 strength. And then the Bulgrin also, so 11 strength 7 attacks, 16 strength 4 attacks, and then 7 strength 3 attacks. Yeah, they're all hitting on 4+, but you're really giving a strong ability to hit back. It's not as powerful as Bulgrin Squad, but what you do have is you have that medic. So your guys that are just your standard guardsmen, every turn you can get 1 back for a 4+.
Wow. That's going to confuse a lot of players. They're like, why are the guards, why are they charging?
It's not necessarily your primary tactic, because let's face it, you as a guard will never beat out a melee orc army or a melee chaos army. You're just not going to do it. But you can do it cheaper in a lot of cases, and you can kind of do it as a reaction.
All right, we'll move on to the next segment then. The next segment is a fan favorite, I believe. It's Get Ripped!
I don't know if you heard me counting. I did over 1,000. You have your ubulus muscle that connects to the upper dorsimus. It's boring, but it's part of my life. I'm just going to grab this shirt if you don't mind. Just watch out for the guns.
All right, at this section of Get Ripped, you guys are veterans of this. You know how to get into it. So, Trevor, what are you throwing in your army to really bolster it, get it strong?
Well, like I said, we're starting off with infantry squads that just meat and potatoes of the Imperial Guard army. But also in Cadia, we have Creed and we also have Pask. This guy is an absolute monster. He's giving out the 2 orders. He's 2+ ballistic skill. He's going to make your whole spearhead detachment that I'm adding onto the list, which they're all scoring Lehman Russes in those detachments. They all have that objective secured. And with 1 command point, he can dish out 3 orders. So he can have all 3 of these Plasmacutioners I'm adding in there. Nice. With the Executioner Plasma Cannon, 2 Plasma Cannons on the side, and a Las Cannon up front. These guys are 192 points of just dealing out multiple damage shots. They're going to, and they're re-rolling 1s if they're sitting still just because they're Cadians. So on top of that, you can also order them with the Cadian Special Tank Order that lets you be a Catachan for a turn and re-roll the number of shots on your turret weapons. So each tank's getting 2d6 and 2d3 plasma shots that you can overcharge to your heart's desire, because those 1s you get to re-roll. And they changed the new plasma event rules that you're only taking 1 mortal wound at a time, not, I think it was 6 in the index. It was quite mean.
Insane.
Yeah, these guys I destroyed half an Eldar army just last night with just the Lehman Russes.
Was it codexed?
No.
Okay.
We played with the rules that we knew, but the points were still killing them.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. The Craft World Codex episode is next week, or the week after this next week, actually. BJ, what are you doing to get ripped with your army? What are you throwing in there?
Well, as much as I was saying, I like Strachan and everything, I don't like him as my Warlord. I think the Warlord trait for the Catachan, where you actually get the ability to do a heroic intervention, and your Warlord gets to reroll failed hits whenever he does a heroic intervention, I think it's just, you don't want to be in melee. Your job is to react as that command squad. So one of the things I do is I tend to do a brigade with a Vanguard and Spearhead, so I can get as many points, because I don't have Creed to give me those extra 2 command points. So I try to double down on the numbers. So I do a Spearhead so that I can get a lot of those Lemon Russes. And previously, in previous episodes, I've talked about how I just didn't like the Lemon Russ. It was terrible. It was overpriced. The Basilisk was so much more effective. Well, so the point costs roughly 3 Basilisks costs about the same as 2 Lemon Russes. If you do out the math when you're playing as a Catachan, Basilisk is going to put out likely 5 shots per tank, and it's going to be at strength 9, AP -3. Those Lemon Russes are going to put out 8 to 9 shots at strength 8, AP -2. So 2 Lemon Russes versus 3 Basilisks, you're actually going to get about 17 shots from the Lemon Russes with 15 from the Basilisks. So you get a lot more survivability and mobility now with the Lemon Russ. So it becomes a really close decision to me. And then when I sat there and mentioned the Vanguard using the elites, I really like doubling down on the strength of the Flamers from the Catachans. I wish I could use special weapons, but they're not as effective as like an elite squad, a veteran squad. You do a veteran squad with a heavy flamer, and then 3 standard flamers, and then 5 shotguns, and basically you just charge them forward. Advance them every turn. Yeah, you won't be able to necessarily shoot the heavy flamer, but that's 3 flamers that then get the burn them out order. The burn them out order, you re-roll the dice when determining the number of attacks that the flamers and heavy flamers have until the end of the phase. So you're much more likely to get a little bit higher on there. Again, you're changing your average dice roll from a 3 to like a 5. So you're re-rolling those. In addition, there are no bonuses to saving throw from cover, which isn't a huge deal, but it could still come up, especially if you push that field and you basically run from cover point to cover point, pushing people off of objectives.
I think also a lot of the armies with codexes now are getting cover in a lot of different ways too. So it still has quite a lot of
Absolutely.
use.
It's becoming more and more effective. Now, granted, we don't have things like, like the Alatok, the Raven, I think it's Raven Guard, from Space Marines, where if it's over 12 inches, they get that +1, which I don't think, or it's actually not a +1, it's a -1 to hit, isn't it? But yeah, we are seeing a lot more cover starting to come into play, and the minus things like the minus to hit that the Alatok get and stuff doesn't matter because you're getting so close, you're within their 12 inches. But I think, yeah, we're going to start seeing some more cover coming in, or things that get +1 to their cover save, because like the Rangers, I think from Alatok or from Eldar, get an extra +1 to their armor save when they're in cover, and some of them even get an extra +1 on top of that sometimes. There's different things where cover is becoming amplified faster. So this really seems to make that a nice counter to that.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm really impressed with the system as it's kind of coming out. It's seemingly like it's much more of a rock, paper, scissors. If you've got this group, you're going to do really good against this group, but that group is going to do really good against that group over there.
Yeah, I like that they brought out the individuality of the regiments. It's not all about Cadia anymore. It's got more character to it.
Absolutely.
That means a lot more players are going to come to the Astra Militarum because, there's 4 different choices and they're all really good.
Yeah, and I've already seen some of that.
Yeah, me too as well. Let's move on to synergies. Synergy.
Sit or lie comfortably, quietly. Allow yourself to be here, fully, in this moment. With your eyes closed, begin to connect with your inner world of thought and feeling. Gradually, let the horseshit of the external world fade from your awareness.
Perfect, all right. With synergies, we're looking for, let's even mix in FAQs with this one. Stratagems, FAQs, tactics of any kind. What's really going to melt your army together and just make it work like a well-oiled machine? And Trevor, go.
The FAQs, we're talking about good things, but the conscripts are out for a reason now. That's why I'm moving, especially as Cadia, into just regular infantry squads. I think a lot of people know what's going on. The conscripts got nerfed bad in the Codex. They got down to 30 guys max, only orders 50% of the time. Now commissars don't really help with morale as much as they used to.
Conscripts just didn't get nerfed. They got completely obliterated.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I don't think you're going to see conscripts in any list, outside of just I need a another, because it's not even cheaper.
No, well,